don't use religious methods to treat the symptoms. I go inside the victim's mind to treat the disease. I evict the demon from the inside. We're in your head. Wake up, buddy.
Something wrong, Henry?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2016 horror film Incarnate. The film is directed by Brad Payton and it stars Aaron Eckhart, Carice Van Houten, David Mazouz, Keir O'Donnell, Matt Nable and Emily Jackson. Now the film does a little bit of a different take on like a possession or an exorcism type film. And it focuses on Aaron Eckhart's character, Dr. Ember, who is a scientist, but he also has a gift in a sense of he can enter people's minds and he can expel demonic spirits once he gets in the mind by convincing the host that what they're seeing in the dream state that they're in isn't real. And if they make the right decisions while they're in there with him, they can expel this demonic spirit. But also he is carrying a personal tragedy because years previously he was involved in a car accident that killed his wife and young son that was caused by a particularly powerful demonic spirit that was intimidated by his gift. And ever since he's been in a wheelchair and he is trying to track down this spirit that cost him his family. Right. What are my thoughts on Incarnate? Well, for the most part, this is a fairly entertaining possession type film. This is one of those films that I was aware was out there and completely forgot about it because I do like exorcism type films and possession films. They can be quite entertaining if they're done, and they can be quite a lot of fun. This came out in 2016, as I mentioned, and I remember it kind of fizzling out. I don't remember it doing particularly well. I don't remember anyone really talking about this film for years. And I kind of stumbled upon this one while I can't remember what film I was researching, but sometimes when you're researching one film, other suggestions come up, and it popped up, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I looked at it, and I remember, I remember this when it was being, I remember the trailers for this at the time. It looked quite interesting, but I remember it not being reviewed quite well, so I probably just ignored it. But after seeing it now, I think this is an interesting take on the genre, for sure. Do I think this film is like anything special? Absolutely not. I definitely don't. It's one of those films that is full of conveniences and, you know, padding out here and there. You know, he's got a character in this film, for example, who is, I wasn't sure if he was a priest or not, but he was essentially, he kind of did what Aaron Eckhart's character did. Very similar thing. And he's also a scientist, and he's developed this MacGuffin, basically, that he says, right, if you inject this in yourself, if you're facing off against a particularly powerful demon, this will give you 10 or 15 seconds of clarity so that you can do this, that and the other. And you're just like, I wonder if that's going to come in useful later in the film. You know, there are things like that littered all over this film. If you can forgive that sort of lazy writing and stuff, excuse me, you'll probably have a fairly entertaining time with this film because I thought it had a really strong opening, this film, that kind of got me set up for the rest of the film. I thought Aaron Eckhart's character, Dr. Ember, was an interesting character, fairly layered and complex. I don't necessarily think they explored him as well as they could. But it was certainly, I think, fairly entertaining and pretty watchable for the most part, this one. Carice Van Houten, who you may recognise from the Game of Thrones films, unfortunately is given very little to do here. It's one of those roles that anybody could have done. It just seemed like a very nondescript role, really. She plays the mother of a young boy that is being possessed by this strong demonic entity that Aaron Eckhart has been chasing for years. And it's got other characters in here as well that don't really offer an awful lot to the film, and they also as well. I don't think they did as much as they could do with the dream state. I mean, they're trying to stand out in a packed genre like possession films. That it's a packed genre these days. They're a dime a dozen. They come out, quite a few of these come out every year. Some of them cinema releases, some of them low budget affairs. So I respect the fact that it tried to do something different, but what it did try to do differently didn't feel that interesting. I just don't feel like they explored it enough. So by trying to stand out and be interesting, it still felt quite ordinary, which certainly wasn't the goal, I would imagine. I don't feel as well they gave enough of an impression that this demon that Aaron Eckhart is chasing, I think it's called Margaret. I think it's something like that. Anyway, that's what it called itself. You didn't never really get a sense of the power of it or how evil it was. And I think they could have built that up as well. And there's a scene later in the film where it's almost like this demon is revealed, and you're kind of like, "Oh, show me, and it just doesn't show enough, and you're just like, "Oh, come on, that's the money shot, please show us." And it didn't do it, and quite an impressive moment in scene I thought was half ruined because of that. And then we come to the ending. It's one of those endings that you're either going to love or you're going to hate. I wasn't keen, I'm not going to lie, on the ending. I thought it was, I don't know, I mean, I'm more of an audience member that prefers a clean ending. I don't like it when they kind of play around or try and be clever at the ending sort of thing, and I prefer a clean ending, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I prefer a happy ending as well. I understand we're not always going to get that, and I do love many films out there that don't give you happy endings, like Seven and so forth. But I thought it was maybe, if you've seen the film or you're going to see the film, make your own mind up with the ending. I personally wasn't keen, and it kind of notched it down a little bit for me. But it was entertaining enough. It's highly polished. It's a glossy film with decent performances. The director's competent. He's directed things like San Andreas and Rampage. I think this is probably his first tenure into horror. I might be wrong on that one, but I thought it was decent enough. I enjoyed my time with it, even though it's one I probably won't add to the collection, and I don't think it's particularly memorable, but might be worth checking out if you're a fan of this type of genre film. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.